only.
The day has finally come. Today, September 27th, 2020 is the final day to get entered to win my Parajet Maverick, which was just in the beginning intro of this video. Along with that, the winner is going to get training with Aviator Paramotor. Huge thank you to those guys for sponsoring that training. When this video goes live, there's only going to be a few hours left to enter. The giveaway ends September 27th at midnight Eastern Standard Time. The way to get entered, go to tuckergott.com, first link in the description, and every $5 spent on the web store gets you one entry to win. As a final promotion for the last day of this giveaway, I recently came across a stack of posters that we printed really early on, and they just happen to be laying around. It's this classic beach water foot drag shot, so while supplies last, every order is going to get a free poster while placed today. Huge thanks for all the support on this giveaway. Drawing is going to be in the next week, so stay tuned to see who wins. Now into the video. So over the past few weeks, I've been flying around a lot and just rolling my GoPro, not for any purpose, just if anything interesting happens, I'd capture it. And inevitably, in about 6 hours worth of GoPro footage, some interesting things happened. So first off, I went for a flight and my parents came out to watch. And in order to try to scare my mom a little bit, I did a couple wingtip touches. If one wasn't enough, I went for a second, nailed both of them first try, but I don't think my mother was that scared. Realistically, I think the only thing that scares her anymore is my motorcycle and my choice in women. I put speed bar back on my Paramotor and I don't know why I haven't had it for so long, so I had a ton of fun just blasting full speed through some trees. We flew over to this pond and I've always looked at this pond and wondered if I could do a foot drag on it, but there's a lot of trees around it and I've never tried it. But I was feeling a little risky this night, so I scoped it out and picked the right line, made sure I had an exit and I wouldn't get boxed in, and laid down a sick foot drag on this nice glassy smooth pond. Up next, I blasted some speed bar over to the local reservoir, which is super shallow. Apparently it's at 43% capacity right now because of the droughts, but the droughts caused this awesome stream. And this was my first time discovering it, and obviously I wanted to try to foot drag it. It's extremely difficult to keep your line on this stream because some of the turns are just a little bit too tight to carve on the Paramotor. But nonetheless, I straight up feel like a National Geographic helicopter flying through some remote location, but honestly way less cool in reality. The next obvious thing to do was a wingtip drag on the reservoir. And this water is so dirty it actually stained my wingtip. When I got back to the airport, my buddy was flying his drone around, and we had talked that I was okay if he flew in between my lines, so I kind of motioned to him to go for it, and he came up from behind and zipped right through my lines. I was stoked.
Yes!
Then he set up to do it again, but this time from the front, and totally missed. If you go frame by frame, he actually cuts in between my line set. This was a little freaky, and I don't think we're gonna do that again. In order to get some revenge, I buzzed him with his goggles on. I don't think he flinched though. I did a flyby and did a foot high five with my buddy Matt. And then as I gained some altitude, I realized that the airplane flying over, I recognized. Years ago, I ran into this guy off in the sky somewhere and we did a drag race. He's a cool pilot, he's always up for some adventure, and he's honestly really skilled, so I climbed up and got in formation. First off, I was kind of taking an inside line, and he kept banking left, which put me in his blind spot under his wing. So we didn't hold this very long, and we set up for a better straight line approach, which worked out perfectly. Dude pulled up right next to me. I'm on my free ride, full speed bar, fully trimmed out, which is about 50 miles an hour, and he's able to keep right up at this slow speed. Flaps dropped, just pulls into formation, so sick. I could see his hand gestures, so I gave him a wave, and then he just peeled off and dipped out.
Yeah, bro!
Now, shortly after this, I was thinking, how could this flight get any better? And it did. I got a text on my phone from a neighbor that said he had a beer to give me. Now, it has been my life goal to somehow grab a beverage from a random stranger during a paramotor flight. I thought, this is my opportunity. Finally, all of my dreams are going to come true. So I scoped it out, swooped by. I see the can, and at the last moment, Buddy chucks it, and it bounces off my shin so hard.
I just took that can to the shin. Ow. Ow, mother.
If you play it in slow-mo, you can tell it's actually a high noon. It bounced off my shin so hard that it blew out the bottom of the can and dented it. In the moment, I had so much adrenaline going that I didn't quite feel how bad it was, but it's probably been 2 weeks and I still have a massive bump on my shin. I did a quick wingtip touch with my buddy Robbie and then flew under a set of high voltage power lines. Now, obviously this is not a good idea. I wouldn't go tell anyone else to do this because they're high voltage power lines. It doesn't sound responsible, but it works. Next, my buddy Matt was on his motorcycle, and the obvious thing to do was try to sync up speeds and do a foot to hand high five again. Worked out perfectly, so we set up and did it again. On this shot, I was worried that Matt was going to be distracted by me and just run straight off the end of the road, but he didn't. We're professionals. The next day, there was a big party at the airport, and they had a hot air balloon launch, and they actually asked me to do a demo with the Paramotor, which I gladly accepted. First order of business was to fly around the hot air balloons, say what's up to all the balloon pilots, which is cool, but honestly I'd rather be jumping out of the balloons with my base rig, but that's another story. After buzzing the balloons, I made my way over to where the party was at. Now, there were supposed to be about 400 people at this party, which was pretty awesome. I dropped in with some wingovers and then buzzed over to where they were doing a balloon tether. All the people were super stoked. And then my buddy Dan and I lined up for the sickest, lowest, and probably longest foot wing stand maneuver. I don't know if this maneuver even has a name. I stood on this wing for so long. We just kept it and held it and synced up our speeds so perfectly. This was like the best one I've ever done. It's such a cool feeling just to poke that little fabric wing. The grand finale, I threw a dirty low sat, which I normally wouldn't do, at least this low. I pulled out at a couple 100 feet. Once again, I don't recommend doing this sort of thing. That's not a lot of margin for error, but we pulled it off. Then I got the random idea that it would be cool to take my buddy's drone up, toss it, and have him arm it and fly away, like a selfie shot. I chucked the drone and then watched it plummet to its death.
No!
The drone didn't arm. Luckily, the drone was totally fine. Those things are built tough. Next, I went over to this epic quarry, which is one of my favorite spots to just proximity fly down the cliff face. I threw some barrel rolls and then just constant wingovers, just hugging the side of the cliff as close as you can without hitting it. For this sort of thing, you need to have really calm air, or else it's going to be extremely turbulent down in this quarry. The quarry is somewhere like 600 or 700 feet deep, so you can just go all day until you make it to the very bottom. And the bottom's even big enough that you can just buzz around in circles down with the giant diggers and everything. It's not that tight, like there's no chance of really getting boxed in. But I'm literally flying underground, which is such a cool feeling. Next, I noticed that there were some workers on this monopole antenna.
Yeah, they're totally working on this antenna. I think there's some guy up top totally gonna buzz him. But it's just putting new 5G up. Hey fellas.
I thought it would be cool to see what they were up to. And first I did a flyby kind of at a distance and saw that there were 3 guys on it, and I judged their reaction. I saw that they were stoked and they were waving. If they were freaked out, I wouldn't have gotten any closer because I don't want these guys to like get distracted and fall off or something. But they were all stoked. They were all waving and they all pulled out their phones to film. So I did a couple passes and they loved it. It probably brought some enjoyment to their day of hard work installing new 5G.
They're so stoked. I love that.
After this, I headed back to the airport, and there's a gap that I've never hit on a swoop landing before, next to the hangar and then through the fence gap. And this time, I carried it in with power to get my spot perfect, and it worked out incredibly well. First try was beautiful, but stay tuned because my second try wasn't that ideal. After this, I climbed up to altitude and I did a one-handed sat with my GoPro in my left hand.
one-handed sat.
I've done this before, but it's just a stupid fun thing. Once you lock in that sat and you have the G-forces normalized, you can kind of just chill and take a selfie. After this, I wanted to hit that swoop gap one final time, but this time my motor was killed, which led me to not set the spot up perfectly, which led me to be way too close to the hangar where I almost caught my wingtip and way too close to the fence where I almost caught my paramotor cage. I was probably about 2 inches on either side of botching that one, but the important thing is I didn't. Those are all the clips I have from all my recent flying. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you guys go to tuckergott.com, get entered to win the Parajet Maverick and the Aviator Paramotor training. Don't forget, we're throwing free posters until supplies run out into every order placed after this video goes live. In the next video, I'm going to be announcing the winner, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for all the support. Till the next one, have fun, fly safe, peace.